Bava Metiza, DAF YOMI, sponsored the Refuah Shalema for Yeshua ben Binza. Shmuel explains the reason of the Chachamim, that even without a provision for a lien, the creditor can collect from sold properties. The principle is achrayus tos sofer. The court will recognize the lack of a provision as the mistake of the scribe. According to Shmuel, this holds true for loan documents. Since a lender does not receive any benefit from the loan, he at least wants to secure his loan. Without a lien on the buyer, he stands to lose his money if the borrower cannot pay. However, in the case of sold property, Shmuel holds a scribe cannot insert a seller's guarantee without his permission for any form of compensation to the buyer in the event a creditor collects the land from the buyer. Now, the Gemara brings up a very interesting case here. Reuven sold land to Shimon with a lien. Reuven wants to challenge his creditor's right to possess the land and not be rejected as a third party. According to the first interpretation of the Gemara, if Reuven guaranteed to compensate Shimon for the loss of land, he can clearly challenge the creditor. The second interpretation of the Gemara is, even if Reuven did not guarantee to compensate Shimon, he can challenge the creditor, claiming he does not want his customer angry at him for selling him land with a lien. The next case is, what about Reuven, whose ownership concerning a piece of land is in question, and he sells it to Shimon without a guarantee? Now, the Gemara here also has two interpretations. As long as Shimon did not take the possession of the land, he can retract the purchase. Once he took possession by making some improvement to the land, he can no longer retract. This is even if he has not yet paid the money. According to the first opinion of the Gemara, if Shimon received a guarantee, he can retract even after taking possession of the land. According to the second shot of the Gemara, even if Reuven gave Shimon a guarantee, he cannot retract the sale until he receives a receipt from the court that Shimon released the land to the creditor. The next thing is, Rav and Shmuel argue compensation rights for a purchaser of stolen land after the real owner repossessed his land. Rav holds the buyer is entitled to compensation for the principal cost of the land plus any improvement. Shmuel says he's entitled to the principal but not improvements. Rav Nachman explains he is not entitled to claim from the thief the improvements because it appears as RABBIS, as interest. Since he never owned the land, the money he received as payment can be viewed only as a loan. The thief's refund for the land is considered repayment of the loan. However, the excess for improvements is viewed as interest. However, if the seller was the legitimate owner, but the land was collected from the purchaser by the seller's creditor, then the purchaser can collect the improvements as well as the principal, because the money paid by the purchaser initially is considered a payment, even though ultimately the land was possessed by the creditor.